When we speak about Saturn and Jupiter together, it's the coming together of two extremely powerful teachers. Now, when we think about gurus and teachers, usually it's either Jupiter or Venus, the two gurus. But Saturn is probably the most important guru there is. If you think about it, the only way you learn something truly in your life is after going through pain or experiencing something painful or being taught in a strict manner. Some of us, some of our parents, they try to imbibe many lessons or teach us many lessons in a very sweet manner. That look, this is good, this is bad, this would harm you, this would help you. These kind of people you should avoid, these kind of situations you should avoid. But how many of us have learned from that teaching versus when you're actually in the field, when you're fighting, when you have no other choice but to fight in that situation and then get out of it? That situation is how Saturn teaches you. A human being understands the value of money when they have none. When they have faced extreme poverty, they understand the value, true value. Obviously, many of us understand the value of money. I'm not saying that someone who grew up rich or someone who has grew up in an affluent background doesn't know the value of money. Of course they do. But to truly understand the value of abundance, of money, of, I would say, being nourished, is after you've been malnourished. You've been, you know, you've suffered from lack. That's when you understand the true importance and true beauty of abundance. Similarly, you don't understand grief unless you've lost someone or something that you've cared for or loved very deeply. These are, you don't understand failure unless you've failed very badly. You don't understand um, mockery. You don't understand what it is like to be mocked by people unless you have been in that situation where people are constantly mocking you or whatever, something like that. The best learning happens when you go through a certain situation yourself instead of someone telling you that, look, this is something if you go through that, you would feel like this. No. So Saturn is that guru that teaches you by putting you into the situation that is uncomfortable, through discomfort, through pain, grief, poverty, trauma. It is how he teaches. And it is the biggest and most potent teaching that you can receive in the Mrityu in this reality, in this realm. So Saturn is a teacher. Jupiter, he is a teacher. He doesn't teach like that. He doesn't, beat you up to teach you. He is very much the, teacher that everyone loves in school or college or whatever, the professor who is so full of knowledge and love. When you go to them to ask about something, I distinctly remember there was this particular professor in our college. He was older, he was so wise, he was so nice to everyone, and so full of wisdom. You just, the wisdom used to emanate from his being, I would say. That's like Jupiter. That's like, someone who is very nice, someone who is very gentle with you and would not beat you up and would make you see the beauty of things, would make you feel hopeful, would make you feel optimistic. That's Jupiter. What happens when Jupiter and Saturn, they come together, is that there's expansion in one side and there's contraction in the other side. Saturn's energy is restrictive. We all know that. He tries to restrict, he tries to put boundaries, versus Jupiter, expand, visionary, optimism, all of that. So whoever has this conjunction, I think if they notice, they will see that they have felt like let's say at one point they want to do something, they have felt a lot of optimism, a lot of urge to do that. Like, yes, I'm going to do it. I'm so excited for it. The next moment, that next moment can be, it can be 1 day later, it could be 1 month later, it could be 1 year later. They have felt the urge to not do that thing. They have felt like, what is the point? Why would I want to do that? What if this happens? What if that happens? The contraction of Saturn versus the expansion of Jupiter. So you would want to head into something very optimistically and enthusiastically. The next moment when Saturn's energy comes in, because it will, you would feel like there's no point in doing that. It's fine. I won't do that. Now, what matters is which planet is at a lower degree, because usually that planet's energy will dominate over the other one. So let's say if Jupiter is at a lower degree, then this mindset of expanding, this mindset of enthusiasm that you feel, the thing I spoke about a situation that, oh, I want to do this, that will win. You will also be able to access Saturn's discipline in order to achieve that or go towards that. But usually the optimism will stay. It won't diminish with time, usually. But if Saturn is at a lower degree, then Saturn will make sure that that optimism, either you constructively use that optimism and sustain that optimism for a longer time in smaller chunks, and top that up with a lot of perseverance, hard work, and discipline, or you let that optimism go. Saturn is saying that you either break down the tasks and do them continuously, perseverance and hard work and discipline with patience, or you let that optimism go. That's when Saturn is more powerful than Jupiter. If Jupiter is more powerful, by that I mean the degree and everything, then discipline might be a little less, but optimism is always there. That I'll figure a way out, I'll keep doing this, or I want to do this, and that is what happens. But this push and pull, this I want to do this, no, I shouldn't probably do this, that will continue to be there for most of the part. And especially it depends on which house this conjunction is happening in your chart. It will affect in that area mostly, but also the houses which Jupiter and Saturn rules, those houses will see the effects as well. Also the ruler of this conjunction, wherever that ruler is, whichever that ruler is, that will also be influencing and involved in this whole situation. So that would also have to be. Now, I'll mention an example of a character. If you think about Paul Atreides in Dune, if you've seen the movie, if you know, he has always been burdened with this vision of his father, of this legacy that he will have to continue on carrying. And he did gain the wisdom to conquer the things that his father wanted, or rather, like the vision that his family had. He was born and he was like this prophetic thing. Like everyone is counting on him to be this, blessed child, or like the chosen one. Whenever this conjunction happens, Jupiter Saturn in a chart, from a very early age, these people feel this burden of being special. Now, people around them might not say that explicitly, that you're special. Their parents might not make them feel special. In fact, it's usually the contrary to that. The people around would make them feel not special. But they have this inner feeling of being different. Not in an arrogant way, not in a egotistic, I'm better than everyone way. It can be that. I'm not speaking about that. But because Jupiter is wisdom and Saturn is karma, the discipline, the responsibilities that we carry in this life, they come together, their energies are very heavy. Both of their energies are extremely heavy because those two are the biggest planets in our solar system. And their energies are obviously, like, think about a teacher, a guru. You won't think of their energy as being childish, like that of Mercury. No, usually, like, they might joke around, they might teach you in a very fun way or fun manner, but their energy isn't it isn't like a child. It won't be like a child, because the learnings, the teachings, that the things that they are teaching, that have come through and come from a lot of experiences, a lot of, let's say, studying, um, reading, understanding, contemplating, analyzing, all of these things. That's where the wisdom is coming from. That's how they are able to teach you. Now, obviously, their ways of teaching are different, but but still they are teachers. One is responsibilities, one is discipline, the other is the value of a vision, the value of ethical living, the value of ethics, the value of having morality. Because usually these people and their moral compass is pretty high. It's pretty solid. Like, those people who might be very young in age, 19, 20, 22, whatever. But if you speak with them, you would feel like you're speaking with a 50-year-old. So they gain a lot of wisdom through experiences, through struggles mostly, because Saturn is involved, and it expands their mind in a way that would not be possible for normal people. It's like wisdom that is very high level, like very unique but high level. And once someone is able to balance this combination, this conjunction, these energies, they become unbeatable. Like, you can't beat them. You can't pull them down. They are so grounded, they're so solid, because they know the value of wisdom, the value of knowledge, the value of having faith, belief system, hope, optimism. But they also know discipline. They also know hard work, sustained effort, the importance of it, the habit of it. They know patience. Now, when you put these two things together, faith, discipline, extraordinary results, extraordinary things they're able to do. They might feel restricted in early life, the ages of early teens, early 20s, until the age of, I would say, 34, 35, mid 30s. They might feel like they are not enjoying life. Their life is and has been so serious. In most cases, it's been so serious that they haven't been able to live lightly or enjoy life lightly. Like, you would expect a certain kind of lifestyle from a late teens or early 20s person, but for these people, it's not like that. It's very serious. It's a very serious energy. They're constantly put into situations where they need to learn, they need to survive, and then they need to understand and learn. So that's why they might complain that I haven't been able to enjoy my life as much. And also, there's this inner guidance, there's this inner moral compass that won't let them do certain things. If this conjunction is working well, then they wouldn't do certain shady things that are done by young people. So yeah, that is also seen when this conjunction is happening in a particular person's chart. And so yeah, it kind of balances out when you're older, mid 30s and all, when Saturn matures, like in the age of 36. um, it kind of balances out, but obviously depends on the person. If the person is always complaining instead of putting in the work or understanding the learnings or understanding what needs to be understood, if they're always complaining and they're always finding fault in everything, this happens if, let's say, Saturn is retrograde or both of them are retrograde. There is a chance that this person might complain a lot. They are not able to see the good parts, the learnings, the lessons that are actually helping them. Instead, they just see the darkness, they just see the pain. So that can happen. But if such an attitude is not there, if such a mindset is not there, and they are very much able to, accumulate the learnings and respect the learnings, because at the end of the day, these two are teachers and they're giving you knowledge. And they also are very good in shastras, in learning scriptures, understanding, teaching, um, very complex ideas. They are able to understand those very complex things. They are able to understand those things as well. So in the first house, in Lagna, these people, they will look older, they will act older. Like, You won't see them acting like the people of their age. Um, and they also have this innate self-criticism. Maybe other people have criticized them from a very early age, or for whatever reason, they have self-doubt and they tend to criticize themselves a lot. And this self-criticism can lead to profound introspection, and that leads to a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom, a lot of awareness regarding themselves eventually at an older age. Because you have to understand this conjunction, it will take time to stabilize. So at an older age, at a mature age, they are able to understand themselves way better than other people around them. So that happens. In the second house, there is this push and pull regarding resources, regarding money. They might have experienced scarcity, poverty, lack of resources at some point. So they can become very restricted regarding resources, or they might, you know, give so much of their resources away that that might have led to scarcity. And this is like a loop. This is like a situation where from which they need to learn from. And in the family as well, there might have been issues with resources. So over time, they understand the value of finances. They understand how to manage finances very well. And the family atmosphere, it also sort of stabilizes. And resources, when it comes to resources, they are able to understand a lot of things with time, with age. And so, yeah, finances, they become quite good at. In the third house, this is where they they initially struggle with skills. They initially struggle with courage as well. There might not be a lot of courage. The push and pull I mentioned about, pessimism and optimism, that is also seen. Let's say they want to courageously fight back. Sometimes they might not be able to initially, and there can be a slower approach to learning new skills, and overall, doing things, putting in effort can be quite slow, but it can be very steady as well. And over time, it yields results. Initially, others might criticize them as being too slow, but over time, obviously, the slow and steady wins. In the fourth house, when this conjunction happens, their childhood can be quite restrictive and also quite serious. Their mother, their childhood home, it might have been very restrictive in a way, but also they might have even been put in situations where they have to take responsibility of a lot of things, often unwillingly, and that might have disturbed their mental peace as well. So, over time, as they deal with these karmic responsibilities and they work on these responsibilities that has been put on them, they learn the value of peace of mind, and they learn how responsibilities are a part of life, but that doesn't mean that you would lose your peace of mind over the responsibilities. And the peace of mind comes slowly with time. And they become quite structured and disciplined when it comes to their home environment or their peace of mind and all of that. A sort of disciplined approach is seen. In the fifth house, these people might not be able to experience casual flings, like, the younger age flings and romances that might be a little restricted, or it might teach them a lot of responsibility, which is not something that younger people would want to do. And they might see people around them having fun, living very lightly, and enjoying friendships and relationships very easily. They might not be able to, and that can create frustration. That can again create self-doubt. But over time, they understand the value of commitment. They understand the value of seriousness in relationships, in also in creativity, because they can be very creative, and their creativity finds grounding and structure in time. Also, children, they have to put in efforts towards their children as well. That is also seen. Um, Sixth house is it's a very service oriented placement. When Jupiter and Saturn are in the sixth house, these are great social workers. They go through challenges, whether that's taking care of a person who is ill in the family, from a young age, or themselves they might be a little there might be health issues at home or in themselves, or something or the other, where they are put in a situation where they will have to, help someone or help take the responsibility by helping someone. So they become very good healers, and social work they usually get into or get interested in at some point. Civil servants, things like that is seen from this placement, and they grow a lot with, you know, going through challenges and fighting with, I won't say enemies per se, but situations that feel like enemies. So they learn a lot from those things. Seventh house, it's initially they might struggle a lot with partnerships, long-term relationships. Um, it might not be stable initially, and the people around them might not be able to understand them properly, the person with this conjunction properly. But with time, these people become so, knowledgeable regarding commitment, or experienced regarding commitment in any sort of partnership, business relationships, that there is this disciplined approach now, there's this grounding, there's this patience that leads to flourishing relationships, because Saturn naturally performs very well in Libra, in the seventh house. And it might create delays, but that delay teaches a lot of things to them. And Jupiter being there brings in the blessings as well, the wisdom, the expansion. So it's a nice situation. It happens like that. In the eighth house, here now this person has a lot of karmas to deal with, and there are a lot of hidden fears that they face from a very early age. This is also somewhere where resources can come into play, like lack of resources, poverty. Uh, these things can happen, but it can also give inheritances, hidden wealths at one point. But the main thing that happens with Saturn and Jupiter conjunction in the eighth house is that fears. They need to face a lot of fears, and most of these fears are unknown to them. They come up suddenly. They might not have known that they were scared of a certain thing, but they come. And these are like deep rooted issues, deep rooted fears that they will have to fight with. They might want to control everything from a very young age. They might have grown up in a very chaotic situation, so they would naturally want to control everything. But their biggest learning is in letting go, in surrendering, whether that is to a higher power or to fate or to nature, whatever that might be. Surrendering leads to a lot of growth, leads to a lot of learning, and they are naturally interested towards spirituality, occult, astrology, all of these things, and they can become great masters at it as well, because obviously the wisdom is now flowing. But in order to get there, they will have to face a lot of issues, a lot of challenges, a lot of fears. So they grow through that at one point. And ninth house, Jupiter Saturn conjunction in the ninth house. This is a situation where a lot of learnings can come from the father, from the teachers in life, but the teachers might not always be nice to you. They can be a little problematic, tough, rigid, and there can be questioning regarding the faith that this person wants to cultivate. But once they are able to cultivate a strong faith towards whatever that might be, the discipline of Saturn lets them go far, and they themselves become great teachers and gurus eventually. So this is a nice placement for even like learning scriptures and all of that. And this is where they can't only depend on luck. Like there might be this urge to leave everything to luck, but they will have to put in the efforts and hard work as well in order to um, make their luck shine. So the both of them, at one point it gets steadier, like I mentioned, at a later age. But initially there are struggles. It's a no-brainer. Like every in each house there are challenges that will have to be faced. That is how the wisdom will come. 10th house, career. Initially there can be challenges, there can be fluctuations. Sometimes you might get a great opportunity. Sometimes there might be no opportunities and growth is very slow. That can create frustration, that can create, you know, issues, because you might see other people around you going ahead, getting promotions, getting a lot of things, but you yourself are not able to. But once the lessons are learned, the discipline is created, a lot of growth, a lot of expansion happens in career. And this is like one of the best things, because now the Lord of Karma is sitting in the 10th house of Karma. So, and also the planet of Dharma is also there. So very ethical outlook and approach when it comes to career and service and helping other people. So that is also seen. In the 11th house, now the friends, the acquaintances that you surround yourself with are usually older, wiser, but initially can be critical of you, or initially might not be able to relate to you. So there can be this isolation. Even within the people of your age or similar interests and stuff, there can be this feeling of not being able to relate with them. But eventually, with time, as they understand themselves better, they are able to, find people or be around people who are like them. And there's this, and also the approach towards gains, the approach towards the public at large becomes very structured, and they are also able to give a lot of service. They are able to teach a lot, um, and do a lot of good for the people if they are able to cultivate the attitude needed, the structure needed. So that happens. In the 12th house, this is a very potent placement for ascetics, for monks, and for teachers and preachers who teach about spirituality, who teach about um, the mystical things of life. Kind of similar to the 8th house, but this is more of a more ethereal, I would say, rather than the 8th house. Um, Isolation teaches them the most things, and there can be this natural urge to be isolated or to live in isolation, because they learn a lot from isolation. They kind of their default mode of learning is through isolation. They gather more information, or rather understand things through isolation. Maybe meditation could be something that they are like very much fond of or become fond of. um, Initially that can be due to a lot of disturbances in their mind and life. They might be forced towards sitting down and meditating and stuff like that because of the chaos. And when it comes to expenses, spending money and spending resources, initially they might not be very calculative, but over time they gain a lot of understanding of how to spend properly. So this is how it works. This conjunction works in each of the houses. A very potent conjunction, a very important conjunction, a very beautiful one as well. Lots of wisdom to cultivate, to understand. So if you have this, consider yourself lucky and have patience. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And thanks for watching.